Good afternoon, everyone. Howard Gearhauser here with my dad, Dr. G. In today's video, we wanted to give you several different things that you can do to fight the coronavirus. So we're going to move pretty quickly through this video. You might need to do a little extra research on these specific protocols, but this will just give you an idea of all that's out there in terms of fighting COVID-19. So I recommend grabbing a pen and a paper. You're going to want to jot these things down. So let's dive right into this, Dad. Can you start going through some of these?
All right, yeah, I'm just going to go through some things. All of these have some evidence for activity, either against the original SARS CoV-1, and then this virus is the SARS CoV-2. So there's evidence of antiviral activity or immune boosting activity for these things that I'm going to mention. And they're being used in China and in Italy and by alternative docs here in the United States. So we know, there's the hydroxychloroquine, the word got out about that. We told you guys about that one, and that's combined with azithromycin, and that might be good. Remember, there was a report coming out that the ACE, if you're on the ACE inhibitor, blood pressure medications, or the ARB, what they do is they increase expression of the ACE2, which is a conduit of the virus to infect the cell. So there's a report that if you're on those blood pressure medications, which millions of people are, that might be a problem. The major societies came out and said, no, like cardiology and different things, said, no, there's no evidence that taking those drugs, makes you more prone to get a COVID-19 infection or more likely to die from it. In fact, they go back to talking about animal studies that showed that taking those drugs might actually be a benefit for surviving COVID-19. So I'm not going to say anything about that if you're on the blood pressure medicines. But people with high blood pressure express the ACE2, which is a conduit to allow the virus to get into your DNA. So if you have high blood pressure, you're at much higher risk. So you want to maybe think about the other things I talk about right now more than, say, a 20-year-old healthy person. We talked before about melatonin and vitamin C, so I'm not going to talk about that. Look at our previous video. We go through that in a lot more detail, but those are things that I personally am ready to do. I'm high risk, being a male, being over 60, those are risk factors. Of course, if you're over 80, then the risk really goes up, but over 60 and a male, pretty high risk. You might want to have some things around like vitamin C, melatonin. Another thing you can do, there's a plant substance that you've probably heard about, would be my guess. I think it grows in like Kentucky or somewhere like that, but it's called tobacco. So nicotine decreases that ACE2. So the conduit of the virus into infecting you. So nicotine, maybe, I don't know if it works. We just know the mechanism. Theoretically, there's a mechanism there. It's something that's relatively safe. It can be addictive, theoretically. I don't believe it's very addictive. I actually use nicotine as a recreational drug. I guess you could call it that. I don't smoke because smoking increases lung cancer. But I think even if you smoked an organic tobacco product, there's no proof that that causes lung cancer. But I'm not telling you to smoke because I think the smoke damages the lungs. But nicotine, gum, nicotine drops might be something to get on board and start taking. If you're in a high-risk area, like you live in New York City, you live in San Francisco or Seattle, LA, might consider chewing a little nicotine. So nicotine. Another thing that might help is methylene blue. Now, I've talked about methylene blue in other places a lot deeper. So methylene blue, I'm not going to go into mechanisms, but methylene blue improves your energy production in your mitochondria. So methylene blue, you can buy. I wouldn't buy the aquarium stuff, but maybe that's just as good, but I'm afraid they might put a toxic chemical in that. But you can buy methylene blue that is certified not to have any extra ingredients in it. It's made for humans. You can also get it IV, but you probably need to be a doctor to buy that. But methylene blue, a couple drops in water, boosts your energy production in your cell. And if you boost your energy production in your cell, then your immune system, needs energy, so it may function better. Again, that's just theoretical. I don't know if there's any. I haven't looked to see if there's studies showing that they use methylene blue to treat patients with COVID-19. They may, because when you get all these people dying, and they use methylene blue in cases of major operations now because it increases energy. So they use it in certain procedures now. So they might, go, hey, we use that, for a heart transplant. Why don't we use that for a COVID-19 that's checking out? Let's give some IV. Well, at that point, someone's dying, but I don't know that that's been done. But that's something that theoretically might be helpful. There's a lot of plant compounds that have a theoretical basis of how they might be helpful. And those are the things I really wanted to cover today. Pomegranate, blueberry, Brussels sprouts, ginseng. Not ginseng, ginger. Ginseng might be good too. Cumin. So cumin, turmeric are plant compounds. They have antioxidant properties. One of the problems is a cytokine storm that happens with your immune system in these diseases. We talked before about furans and how if you reduce furans with vitamin C and melatonin, that could be helpful. They do use an antihistamine drug. This drug, as far as I know, is not available in the United States, but if you live in another country, it's in a lot of other countries. It's an H1 blocker, antihistamine, so it's kind of like Benadryl, but I don't know that Benadryl works, but this one works, and they use it in people with COVID-19 in the hospital, and that's Tinset, Tinset, that's the brand name, and the generic name is oxotomide. So over-the-counter antihistamine that doesn't have the anticholinergic side effects. So that's why I don't like Benadryl. Has the anticholinergic side effects, which I don't think are good. Sulfurane, which is a chemical in plants, has antiviral activity. I would load up on broccoli. So you want to cook your broccoli, steam it. Don't boil it, because if you boil it, the sulfurane goes into the water, and so unless you drink the juice, you won't be getting the sulfurane. So I'd be eating broccoli every single day. I would get organic if possible. Don't boil it, steam it for 5 minutes. It should be good. Elderberry extract, that's a well-known boosts the immune system, antiviral. Quercetin, another plant compound. Rhubarb extract, another plant compound. Licorice, so there's a chemical in licorice called glycyrrhizin. So glycyrrhizin, yes, it raises your blood pressure. Yes, it depletes your potassium. So you got to be careful with that one. But it's been shown to specifically inhibit SARS. And what are we talking about? We're talking about SARS-CoV-2. So maybe eat a little candy called licorice. Don't overdo it so you don't spike your blood pressure and don't lower your potassium. Or you can go to the health food store and get some glycyrrhizin extract. So those are just some things that really quickly I wanted to go over that are simple, safe, relatively safe. There's always a risk of anything you do in life, but these are relatively safe compared to taking a chemotherapy drug for cancer. They're safer than that, or safer than most of the diabetes drugs that are out there. But you have to, read the directions. You have to discuss it with your physician if you're on other medicines, and because there always can be interactions between an herb and a drug. So if you're on a bunch of drugs, you need to talk to your physician, who should be able to quickly make sure there's no contraindications to taking something like, let's say, glycyrrhizin, which can lower your potassium or raise your blood pressure.
Yeah, and I'll throw up a link right now to our coronavirus playlist, where we also discuss other things that you can do naturally to prevent or combat COVID-19, the coronavirus. We have a whole playlist with several videos. We've been putting a lot of content out on the coronavirus because I know there's not a ton of great information, and we think that this is the best way to approach it. So I'll put a link up right now. You can also check the description for a link to that playlist. Is there anything else you wanted to add on this one?
No, I think, you can fight this with these nutrients that can be antiviral or boost the immune system. The best way to boost your immune system is to cut off the non-native electromagnetic fields around you, turn your Wi-Fi off, especially not just turn your Wi-Fi on when you need it, because Wi-Fi creates peroxynitrites, which are oxidation products. And one of the problems with the COVID-19 and the cytokine storm is too much oxidation going on. So you don't want your Wi-Fi zapping you at the same time. The other thing you want to do is monitor your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm controls our response to an attack on our body. So our immune system is controlled by circadian mechanisms. So if we get too much fake light, or we don't get the right daytime of the sun light signals as the sun goes from sunrise to sunset, if we don't get periodic in the eyes and on the skin, then we can create a problem. We want to build our vitamin D naturally. You can take vitamin D pills, but they may not work. Most of the studies on vitamin D pills show that when you give it vitamin D in a pill form, it doesn't give all the benefits of the observational studies that show that when you have high vitamin D levels, you have fewer heart attacks, you have fewer infections, just on and on. All these different things are improved with higher vitamin D. But when they do a randomized controlled trial and randomly split two groups, give one group placebo and one group vitamin D, there's no significant difference. The D level goes up in the people taking the pill, but their disease doesn't change. So it looks like the sun is needed in that equation. I mean, it could be I'm wrong. I don't know everything. But so far, mainstream medicine has done multiple randomized controlled trials on vitamin D, and almost none of them show an effect. So I would say it's pretty clear. It's the sun that creates the benefit. Part of that benefit, obviously, is vitamin D, but it looks like the sun can't be removed from that equation for it to still work. So I would say be sure you do the sun, be sure you avoid the artificial light or block it, and be sure you reduce your exposure to non-native electromagnetic fields. So I'd say that's the baseline thing everyone should be doing, but most people don't know to do that.
Yeah, we detail those recommendations in that playlist, as well as many other things that you can be doing. But as my dad mentioned, those are kind of the core things. You get those things right, you're going to feel pretty good, and your body and immune system will operate properly. So I think that's it for this one. We'll see you guys on the video tomorrow. Appreciate you tuning in, and stay safe out there. Thanks, Dad.